tough side effect.
I'm gonna do a little recording. Yeah. So what did you say about SHP2? I'm sorry.
Oh, there are a couple people in Town who have done SHP2 inhibitors on trial for colorectal cancer, and it seems like, the side effects can be tough. So hopefully she'll be able to manage it. Okay.
Yeah, she mentioned that was an issue and that they're watching that, and in particular, she's concerned about something with her eye, oculars, something. So they have to keep a close watch on that as a side effect.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about it, it's kind of weird. Like, why would it attack your eye? But okay.
I know. Well, when I did my immunotherapy trial at NIH, they kept a close eye on that stuff too. So yeah, you never know how these drugs interact with everything.
Yeah. Kim Marie, thanks for the forwarding of the message from Jamie at Caris.
Yeah.
That was that distinction, as I mentioned, and just a quick response. I don't know if you saw it, but that distinction, it's like effectively free, but we can't say it's free. It's like, so David Marshak pointed that out too.
Yeah, and I got an email prior to that from Jamie saying, that Dr. Lynn had made the comment that the insurance wouldn't be billed. So that's like even scarier to them. So like, we should have to clarify that.
Yeah. So Sophia and Lysandra, good to see you. Today's going to be sort of an abbreviated and sort of different check-in because Linnea won't be joining us because she's dealing with some of the issues that came out of her biopsy this week and starting on her therapy. So we're doing a little usual assembling, but I don't expect that we'll have the usual 24. It'll probably be just a handful because I sent a message out mentioning that.
And Brad, we're looking forward to our feedback session later today. And
That's
if
right. I assume she'll make
Linnea
it.
is not feeling well, we are very happy to reschedule. We're excited to kind of share that cancer summary. And once she's kind of looked at it and understands it, again, it's in her control to share with who she wants. But I know she's mentioned wanting to share it with this entire hackathon team as well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm available, and she hasn't said she has a conflict. I assume it's in her calendar, and I assume she'll be able to join because it was an issue of a conflict, not an issue of not feeling well, as far as I know. So I'm going to proceed as if we're on, but we'll understand if she doesn't show us. I'm sure you would be too. So you still in Portola Valley?
I am in Vancouver, Canada, actually.
Hey, so do tell, what's the story there?
I am quarantining right now in my partner's parents' basement. So they take COVID very seriously, and just the entire protocol and technology around border entry and quarantine has just blown me away. Actually, look at the border, you get these COVID-19 test kits. You have to do one at the border, and then 8 days later, you do a telehealth visit where they swab. I'm very impressed. So we have a lot to learn from Canada.
Wow. My daughter's here from London. Fortunately, she's an American citizen, but when she goes back to London, I think she has to get 3 PCR tests, one before she leaves, 2 after she's there, and quarantine for several days. And then my friend in Singapore, I think that you go to a hotel for the Singapore chooses, and it's like 10 days or something.
Yeah, that's if you fly into Canada. We drove across the border so that we could skip the hotel and stay at their house. But yeah, it's
yeah. Well, hi Christy, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too. Sorry, I'm a little late.
No worries. You're actually early.
Oh.
I love it when you're late and early for a meeting at the same time. So,
good to see you guys.
Yeah, this is going to be an abbreviated call. I don't expect a lot of people because I sort of sent out an email saying that Linnea will not be able to join us because she's had a conflict with this meeting due to dealing with things that came as a result of her her biopsy this week.
Okay.
Right. So I'm open to having a conversation. Kimmery was on top of the tissue and the biopsy, where the biopsy goes. And we got a message from Linnea that said that she was, that Jess Lynn, her oncologist, was focusing on Foundation Medicine, Caris, and M-Probe, proteomics. So those are the 3 tests she's prioritized. If there's more tissue, she'll do more, but those are the 3 that are going to get the tissue that came out of the biopsy.
Are they saving any tissue?
I didn't ask, she didn't say, but that was right on the sheet. We put it right in there. Courtesy of Grace, like save a third for future use. Yeah.
And was wondering if the clinical trial requested any tissue as well, because if that was a request versus an inclusion criterion, they could decline the request and keep the tissue. It wouldn't be a protocol violation.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to take that up with Linnea when she comes back, or if you want to throw that into
Yeah, I kind of sent it out in an email after last week's, but I'm sure, it's hard to keep track of everything, and
Yeah.
I'm sure Linnea is pretty overwhelmed.
Does anybody have anything else you want to discuss? I mean, it's nice. I think that I find it's nice to just meet people and we can talk about anything. So open to that, but anything else anybody wants to raise or discuss?
I was wondering if a pathologist would be joining today, because a couple things I noticed on the report that you sent around, Brad. The pathologists that read the report and signed off on it were not thoracic pathologists. I was a little surprised by that. So I'm assuming in a final report, a thoracic pathologist will weigh in. It also seemed like there weren't any IHC tests performed or read out. So I'm not sure if that's probably in the works there. And, just a little bit, the other thought I had, and I am not a pathologist, I just happen to have worked on things around histology and morphology of lung adenocarcinoma. And it seems like the acinar and micropapillary and mucinous findings on that biopsy almost indicate like it could be a different kind of, that maybe it's not an ALK positive tumor. So I'm just, we'll find out with the foundation and Caris and stuff, but that's the only thing that my cat has decided to join.
It was an attractant. Yeah, the camera was an attractant. That happens with babies too.
So she's 19 years old this month. So
wow.
Yeah.
I know for a dog that would be superstardom. How long do cats typically live?
I had one that was 21 once.
Wow.
So.
Oh, wow. Well, I will take those comments, Kimmery, and when I write up the kind of the summary for this week,
That's
I'll
more
put
of an
those.
observation than anything else. But yeah, I mean, I know that she had mentioned John Iafredi was a pathologist, so assuming he's going to look at all the, the tests that are done after the H&E. So
Great. Okay.
I had a question. I missed last week. I had some doctor's appointments. Why is Linnea having tissue sent both to Foundation One and Caris? Because aren't they pretty much the same tests? Is there something different that they're going to do?
I wouldn't do that myself either. In fact, that was one of the points I put at the top of that tissue testing list was don't do redundant tests.
Yeah. I was just curious. Yeah.
I'm curious, and you, Kimmer, you're smarter about all this, and it's not the question of scarce tissue and so redundancy, but just I have heard that even if you took samples and you sent them to 3 different labs, you'll get 3 different answers, or even if you send them to the same lab twice, you'll get different answers. So the confirmation that would come by sending it to 2 completely different companies would be if you had enough tissue and you could, essentially afford it.
I would say that's true if it's a non-validated test that doesn't have FDA approval, but by virtue of the fact that they have an FDA companion diagnostic, approval means that they've had to show the reliability, between, getting the same answer on the same sample on any given day, is baked into their approval. So to me, again, this is just my personal, I've tried to come into this as though if it were my tissue, what would I do with it?
Mm.
And I certainly wouldn't get a Caris and a foundation. I would get one or the other, and I, would weigh on the one that gives me more results for the tissue.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, because it's like, why not save that tissue? I mean, the most that you're going to find is maybe some variants of unknown significance that aren't driving her cancer anyway, is what
Yeah.
I would think. But
And this is, again, I'm gonna pontificate here a little bit, just sorry about this, but this is like a very typical clinician thing to do, right? So they probably are curious what will happen with the results from a foundation versus a Caris. And maybe they've always wanted to compare the two, or, feeling like it's more valid if both tests come up with the same answer. And they're both validated tests. So I'm sure they'd rather get 2 validated test results than a validated test versus an exploratory test result. And that's just sort of the evidence nature of clinical practice. And I'm not surprised by that, but I was hoping it wouldn't. I was hoping we were equipping Linnea with enough information and power to say, hey, I don't want that redundant test done. So again, just sort of editorial comment there.
So her tissue only got sent out to 2 places. Is that correct? 3. Okay. And I was
Caris and M-probe, and M-probe is proteomics.
That's a done deal. It's already been sent.
I don't think so, because like the email that I sent on top of that, I mean, that's what Jesslyn intends to, where she intends to direct it. That's what Linnea said. But then Jamie from Caris came back and said, I'll send out the requisition. So it sounded like there's still some paperwork and administration to yet to go.
I mean, if Linnea is up for it, I would question why the 2.
Okay.
Or at least stagger them. I mean, in the event that one might even argue do 1 at a time, because if the quantity and quality of the tissue is not up to snuff, then you're going to get 2 tests back that aren't up to snuff or inconclusive or test failed, versus, could you salvage that tissue with some other kind of test? So yeah, I wouldn't, I wouldn't do it
That's
that way.
smart, Kimmery.
So just a related but slightly different topic, Gail Thornton's on and Sophia's here. I saw, Sophia, that you had a conversation with your PR agency, but I didn't actually read the email. Like, I'm behind on email, sorry. So what's the update? Because Gail, and just for everyone else's knowledge, Gail's been kind enough to say we could write an article or a letter to the editor about the issues that Linnea's been having with her tissue. And she's a journalist by training. And Sophia had mentioned, and I know that Citizen is very strong on this whole patient access to their data and their tissue. So what did you learn, Sophia?
Yeah, so the conversation I had with both our internal team and our PR agency is just kind of slotting this in among the other storylines and angles that they are pursuing with the media. And so that's the follow-up meeting I have with them on Monday. But effectively, and Devin and I believe this is a wonderful story. Linnea's story needs to be told and is very in line with kind of our belief of patient control over data. The only nuance is we don't do any biosample collection or storage. And so just keeping that clear. But Gail, once I connect with the PR agency on Monday, I'll follow up and introduce you to them. I just needed to brief them and kind of catch them up on it before they could kind of consult and let us know what they would have the bandwidth to do. We just have them on kind of like a part-time retainer type thing. But I think patient stories are something that we've had tremendous success getting the media to pick up. We've got a CBS interview with one of our clinical trial matching patients. The reporters that are getting to know us through this agency just want patient stories. That's all they want. So I think this is a really great effort, hackathon initiative, and the issue of tissue, which I love, to get out there. So I will connect with them on Monday, and then Gail and Brad, I'll follow up once I kind of get them up to speed and have clear next steps in terms of how to move this forward. And my guess, just knowing how I've worked with them in the past, is they take a pretty open-ended approach. So they will say, okay, what's the best way to tell the story? What are all the media angles? And then decide if a letter to the editor makes sense, or if a video interview, there's all sorts of ways that they might be able to provide their expertise on the best way to, knowing who they think might bite. So I will follow up with that on Monday, but would love to see her story out, New York Times.
And I'm very happy to work with your agency and you, Sophia, on this. I've also talked to a few reporters and kind of soft sounded them about more the broader issue of Brad's hackathon, what it means for treatment, a new way of thinking, different options. So I'll be writing that pitch this week, and I'll share it with Brad and you, Sophia, before I send it out. But there is interest. It's just a matter of timing and the actual story angle. So if I don't know, Brad, if you have any info on about Linnea's personal information, something that I could pull. I know that her journey, I'm familiar with that, but something that gives the story more humanity would be helpful.
Yeah, so I learned a lot about that just Googling her and looking at her blog.
Okay.
She's out there quite a bit. She's been written up by some of the lung cancer patient advocacy groups as patient cases, and goes into that. So yeah, she's an artist, and has her family and her background and all that, and the other things that she does. She's quite active with Harvard Medical School and playing a role in some of their education. So for example, those things come out. Yeah. So a quick Google search. She's notorious.
Thanks.
Can I just ask a question about the story angle? And in the conversation that we just had, if in the end the physician is going to order things as the physician would order things, is the story successful in Linnea driving the use of her tissue and where exactly it goes? And I just want to make sure there's not a disconnect there, and or something that would make her physicians or any physician really be afraid of this kind of thing or shy away from it, and feeling like their decisions are being challenged, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure you guys have thought about that, but I just wanted to know how we would handle that in an article.
It's an interesting point, because it's a fundamental there's a fundamental tension underlying all of this. So for the other hackathon that's currently active with Casey Altman, Lenny Wexler, her oncologist at MSK, led the medical history story, and then stayed around for Q&A. And what I realized, I hadn't kind of anticipated that, but people were second guessing his decisions, like, why'd you do this and why'd you do that? So he's exposing himself to a lot of potential flack. So it was very brave of him, and I told him so. It was very brave of him to do that. So there's that's kind of fundamental tension. Like, why would you, as the oncologist, put yourself out there when it could be blowback? And of course, we know the other side of it, which is the patients that hesitate to get a second opinion for fear of being rude to their oncologist. So there's that. Anyway, it's fraught with tension on both sides, actually. When all we're trying to do is get to best answers. So collegiality and openness and all that is the philosophy we have, but it actually does run into human nature in some of these dynamics.
That's a fine line that I think that we'll walk with this, because I could see with Casey, her physician was very open. With Linnea's physicians, I could see them saying, why are you questioning me? Why are you stirring the pot in all of this?
Mhm.
you should be trusting me and my judgment and my years of expertise. So we have to be
Yeah.
gingerly when we
Yeah.
create this article.
Well, yeah, and I found, again, with limited data, but the folks at UCSD seem to have, that we've run into, again, the first hackathon, Raina McKay said, oh, you're going to bring a crowd to this? Super cool. I'm going to learn something. It's like, so there's that, it's kind of, I found in general with my consulting history, it's like you have clients who are learners and you have clients who, view you as the enemy. So it's like, and they're just sort of pre-wired that way culturally. So, yeah, you hope that you get with people that want to learn, because people that want to learn would say this is couldn't be better.
I'll say too, this is a line that Citizen walks every day. And we are building a technology platform that challenges the status quo and puts patients in a position of power over their health data. Like that in and of itself is a bit of a aggressive move in the eyes of some oncologists, and there is some pushback. And I think, it's part of the broader discussion happening right now with the information blocking rules that came out in April and patient access to clinic notes. And it's part of a broader kind of tension and movement. And so I wonder too, and this is why, Brad, I want to speak with the PR agency about all the different angles, because there might actually be like 6 stories here, not just one, and kind of what is the benefit and of patients having a say, of crowdsourcing. So it's a line we walk every single day. And the reality is some physicians are on board and some aren't. And, I'll say personally as a patient and us as this company, side on the side with patients and say, this is happening, get on board or not, because they are the most important constituent in this.
Okay, I see Jeff just logged on and Randy's in the background there. So just for your benefit, we're having a kind of a roundtable discussion because Linnea is not able to join us because she has a conflict today.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late. I was in another meeting.
No worries. Good for you.
Well, maybe not good for the other participants, but yeah. Now, did she have her biopsy? Was it Wednesday? Was she supposed to do that?
That's right. So the biopsy was Wednesday, and I think she then started right in on her drugs on Thursday, yesterday. So I think she's
good.
Yeah. And what we were just talking about is where the tissue is going to be sent off to.
Yep.
Hi, Will. Good to see you.
Hi, sorry I'm late. I got tied up.
No worries. So this is an informal conversation. Linnea is not with us today. Her biopsy happened, her tissue's been sent off, and or is slated to be sent off. We actually had a discussion about that. Thank you, Kimry. So we were just talking about that and the article that is underway, with help from folks at Citizen and Gail Thornton.
Right. Is she in the hospital right now?
I don't know. I was guessing not, but I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so unless anyone has anything, I will give you back whatever time you allocated to the rest of this conversation, unless anyone has anything else you want to cover.
I just mention one thing, maybe a tad self-serving, Brad, and I wanted to talk to you about it offline too, is I've introduced you to the Oncology Patient Foundation in the Netherlands called Inspire to Live.
Yep.
And when I ran the PM Connect of their CEO was on my board. So I'm co-chairing what they're calling the World Oncology Congress in mid-September in Amsterdam, the Royal Academy of Sciences in Amsterdam. So I'll send a notice around for it. It's kind of cool. It's more on, a little bit less on clinical treatment than on researchers, but it's usually 200 to 300 of the top clinical and preclinical researchers in oncology from around the world. And my other co-chair is a woman named Ripsime Martirosyan, who's chair of the Cancer Institute she's launching in Armenia. So we have people from all over the world. We have a guy that's the CEO of a firm in Sao Paulo that just developed a brand new test for thyroid cancer that he thinks is more effective than early detection of thyroid cancer than current testing that's available. We've got a woman that's launching a colon cancer program in Beirut named Hannah Niemer. We've got a young woman in Cairo that's working on oncology in Cairo, Sofia, Bulgaria, kind of all over the place. So it's kind of interesting. Probably not worth going to Amsterdam, but I can probably get some of the presentations for you.
If you could put that in the Slack, that would be a perfect kind of.
I'm building out the agenda now, so I'll probably maybe just put a teaser on there. Then once I have more knowledge, I'll let you know.
Great. Okay. Well, as I often say, thank you all very much. Class is dismissed.
Oh, I love your cat, Kimmery. I've got one over here that's very similar. Hang on 1 second to see if he's happy. Come here, big guy.
Yeah, but how old is yours, Jeff? It's got to be at least 19 years old to be, like in the running here. Oh, look at that.
But he's 20 pounds. Come here,
Wow. Very similar.
He's not necessarily happy about it. He stands in the kitchen, Kimmery, with his hind feet on the floor and his front feet flat on the kitchen counter.
That tall.
Enormous. He's a big guy.
Good guy. Yeah.
I think I might have disturbed his sleep pattern. Anyway, thank you.